Well, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Run Pure Sports MMA show, talking UFC 262, Oliveira versus Chandler. I'm Draftcheat, joined today by my boys Joey Werk and Titletown. Joey, what's going on, man?
What's up? I feel like we haven't been together in a while, but maybe that's just me. I don't know. We're back, UFC 262. I'm excited.
For sure. Title, what's going on?
Yeah, I think last time we were back, I believe it was the Usman Masvidal card. No, we started off, the prelims, I think we got like almost everyone right. It was looking like it was about to ship. I know I wasn't on Rose. That was hurtful, but what a performance it was for them. But yeah, I think listeners had a lot of success. It was fun. We get a great card today, back with the fans, Houston, Texas. It should be a lot of fun. Maybe Absolutely. That wasn't even the last show. I don't even know if it was or not. I think that's so. The last one I recall.
Yeah, we do these for whenever there's a pay-per-view, UFC pay-per-view. You'll get the three of us here on Saturday morning talking betting angles from Joey Werk, mostly DFS from Title, and then I'll chime in where I see fit as well. So, yeah, 12 fights on this card. It's a good one, I think, overall. I'm excited for this one. We did lose a big fight. I think was it due to injury or coronavirus, either one, but still 12 good fights on this card. And, just as kind of an overview, I do have to say, we've been doing this a long time, betting, playing DFS, UFC. I've never seen, I bet this is the lowest average spread between, betting lines that I've ever seen. I mean, the biggest favorite on this card is a minus 200?
225.
Yeah, just insane. I mean, most of these fights are pretty damn close to pick'ems, which just, I think it makes for a fun night, right? You're going to see ownership, I think, for DFS Title spread out a lot. There's just a lot of different directions you can go. And, normally we're talking, this is a plus 300, but we think there's value here. This card, you're just pretty much picking winners, right? I mean, you're just saying, who do you think's going to win this fight? Because most of these are damn close. And you can, if you're shopping around, if you got multiple books, you can find plus odds on a lot of these fighters, plus 102, plus 105, that type of thing. So should be a really, really entertaining night. I think there's going to be a lot of close fights. And we'll see how many we can get right ourselves. So
yeah, I'll speak on that real quick, like a broad slate overview. Because this card, like you said, it's unlike any one we've ever had. Mm-hmm. There legit could be 6 underdogs that win and are on the optimal lineup today, and you leave 1,800 in salary. And that's fine on this slate. I mean, especially if you're on Chandler at 7,500, you can leave 20 to over 2,000. I know people keep asking me and stuff. Just like you said, look at the odds. Usually the 9,300 fighters are minus 350, minus 400. Our 9,300 top per girl is Gina Mazzani, who's minus 225 in a woman's fight. And we know, we've seen Gina lose plenty. Like that just shows this card can go any way, which makes it ownership should be spread out. I love it. There should be less duplicates, more unique lineups, leave salary, and you just pick winners at the end of the day, like you said. I'm pumped.
Yeah, should be awesome. Joey, your thoughts overall on this card before we jump into the fights?
Down low, I'm not really impressed about anything. Maybe there's probably 3 fights I'm really looking forward to. Obviously, the last 2, and then my guy Burgos. Snell Bontarin should be fun as well. And then Burgos and Barbosa is probably going to be fun in the night.
That's what I think too. That's going to be a good one.
Yeah, those guys are going to slug it out, no question. We'll get to Burgos, Barbosa, the main events. The top 2, the main event and the co-main event. I'm looking forward to both of those fights. So should be a fun night of fights. We'll go through them all as we always do, starting with the first fight of the night, which is Christos Giagos and Sean Soriano. Giagos coming in right around minus 200 here. So one of the biggest favorites on this card. Again, we just talked about that. That's not something you would typically say for a minus 200 favorite, but it is the case here. Lightweight fight here. What do you see here, Joey, between Giagos and Soriano?
So both these guys, I'm pretty sure it's both of their second stint in the UFC. I know it's definitely Sean Soriano's. He went 0-3 his first time, and that was back in 2014. He obviously grinded his way back, so kudos to him for that. But he throws a good amount of volume, sometimes uses wrestling for takedowns. Overall, I'm not really impressed by his overall game. Giagos, he throws good volume as well. He has okay power, but hasn't finished anyone since 2016. His wrestling is pretty good. I do expect him to try and get this fight to the ground. Plus, he's a black belt in BJJ. His question mark is really in his gas tank. He looked very slow and sloppy his last couple fights in round 3. I say that time and time again that I don't like betting guys without finishing upside, but I don't see Giagos getting a finish here. So the only look here would be Giagos by decision for me. That's at plus 125.
Yeah, that makes sense to me. Title Giagos, one of the more expensive fighters on this card, coming in at 9,100. Do you think he's got a good shot at a finish here? I kind of think this one goes the distance, but interested to hear your thoughts on Giagos and Soriano.
Well, the thing is, too, I'll say it off the top. There's only 4 fights. As good as this card is, there's only 4 fights that are supposed to finish inside the distance. So we could, and that's why like Giagos, Joey, I thought broke it down perfectly. He couldn't have said it any better. Soriano's 0-3 stint 6 years ago. Like that just sounds awful. If you're 0-3 6 years ago, I mean, the talent's only gotten better. Like, you know what I mean? So like Giagos, gas tank, definitely a concern. 3rd round, if it gets there, Soriano, he probably should win that round, but I don't think Soriano wins the first 2 rounds. Giagos will score pretty well if he gets the rest, if he gets the takedowns, uses top control, which I think he will do. So he's even in a decision, a 95-point decision or something with top control could be enough on this card. And with salary not really mattering, he's going to be in my player pool for sure. He's a good cash game play, but it's not like you said, I think the more likely outcome is a decision. And just because there's only 4 inside the distance fights, there's a lot of like plus 125 to finish, plus 130 that I think could finish. So I'm not going to be overweight. I'm going to be kind of around the field since I don't want him to kill me, but I don't have too strong of a lean. Soriano, though, I think he loses this fight. So I'm not going to waste my time on him.
Yeah. I think we'll see Giagos come in as one of the more heavily owned fighters just because people are hesitant to leave a lot of DFS salary on the table, right? We see that time and time again. People look to upgrade, right? You finish your lineup, you got $2,000 left, and you're like, oh, who can I get? Well, Giagos is one of the biggest favorites on this card. People will kind of just naturally say, I'll upgrade this fighter to Giagos. So he will be, I think, pretty popular. Probably not overly so, but one of the more popular fighters on the on the DraftKings MMA slate. So
I think we'll see I think we'll see ownership pretty much like all in the 30, 38, low 40s will be the highest, the Chandler Oliveira's, but I think it'll be pretty spread. I agree. He'll probably be one of the highest in the 30 range, but if you like someone on today's card, just like get overweight, get 55, 60%. You'll clearly be overweight since ownership will be spread out.
Yeah, I'm with you. Let's go to the next fight on the card. Tucker Lutz, a very small favorite, minus 120 or so over Kevin Aguiar. Aguiar coming off 3 losses in a row for him. Lutz has been pretty good, 11-1. But yeah, just a slight favorite here. He is 6 years younger as well. Lutz has, a little bit of decent wrestling, has been pretty proficient striking in his 2 UFC bouts. Decent volume there. So yeah, I guess I'm a little bit surprised that he's not a bigger favorite here. Joey, what do you see between Lutz and Aguiar?
Yeah, so Tucker Lutz, friend of the show, his strength of his previous fights are definitely in question. That's probably why this line is as close as it is. He's basically fought a bunch of scrubs. He went to the Contender Series. He won his first fight. He won via decision. He didn't do enough to impress Dana. So Dana had him come back a second time on the Contender Series. He wins again via decision, and now this will be his first official fight in the UFC, so he got the contract after that. But he does have a lot of power. He moves forward, throws a lot of legs kicks.
Yep.
As for Aguilar, he was a former LFA champion, but he's definitely fought the better competition of the two as well. But he hasn't impressed me, especially as of late. He prefers to stand up and fight. But he doesn't have much power, and he constantly gets outstruck on the feet. For the guy that loves to stand, I mean, you better be outstriking your opponent. And he fades later in fights. So I'm not an Aguilar guy, that's for sure. So if you got to force me aside, I got to go with my guy Tucker Lutz here. Short price, minus 115-ish. So that'll be my side.
Yeah, I'm kind of with you. I don't love either of these fighters, but Aguilar, I mean, he doesn't bring much to the table, right? He's not going to wrestle. His takedown defense, I guess, is pretty good, but I mean, he loses on the feet. Just a 37% striking accuracy. Like, he's just not that great. So again, not that impressed with Tucker Lutz either, but I'll take the younger fighter. He hasn't taken as much damage. I think he's got a little bit more power than Aguiar. So that's the way I lean. Title, how do you see this fight going down?
I see a little more power in Aguilar than I think you guys are saying. I mean, I think if he gets him right, he could finish Lutz. Like you said, though, this is a pretty lower level fight on a card like this. I expect mainly 2 guys standing, trading kicks, trading hands, more likely a decision win. And when we see those, a 15-minute standing battle. I mean, Aguilar doesn't throw a lot of volume either. So that's the concern. If he doesn't get the finish, he's not going to be optimal at 7,900. Just an underweight fight that I'm going to take. I'm going to leave him in my player pool in 20 entry or 150, cap him at like 15% max, because both of them could finish. But I don't think that's the likely outcome. So decision, probably not an optimal performance is what I'm hoping for. Probably side with Lutz a little bit, but it's a tough fight. I'm not, this is one of the least ones I'm excited for, to be honest.
Yeah, I'm with you. Not expecting too many fireworks between these two. You never know. Obviously, any fight can end at any time, but I think overall this could be just two guys with, not a huge amount of power. Some strikes landed. I expected to mostly stay on the feet, and Lutz, I think, kind of all our pick to maybe squeak out the decision here, but probably not one that you're going to need in your DFS lineup. Next fight on the card, again, one of the biggest favorites, Gino Mazzani, comes in as a minus 210 or so, depending on where you look. Yeah, biggest favorite on this card overall against Priscilla Cachoeira. Mazzani, pretty good wrestler, averaging, some more, like one of the highest takedown rates, basically, of any of the women in the UFC. So she'll probably try to utilize that, I think. Cachoeira has been outstruck pretty badly. Both these women, kind of up and down in the UFC, lower level women's fighters, in my opinion. Another one that, I can't feign too much excitement for this one, to be honest. Joey, do you see it? How do you see this one going down? Are you excited for this fight?
Yeah, so I think Gina switched camps before her last fight. I know she switched camps recently. Okay. I'm not sure if it was before.
She's coming off a win. They're both coming off wins. Yep.
I believe last fight to Krause. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So she moved to Glory MMA with James Krause, who's obviously like possibly coach of the year.
Yeah.
And I did have Jason Witt on my show yesterday, who trains out of Glory MMA, and I asked him a little bit about this, and he said, I mean, he's probably a little biased being training with Gina, but he said, man, she is ripped out of her mind. She gets ripped every training camp. She's in really good shape, and she's a lock for today. Put that with a grain of salt, because he is training in the same camp as her.
Hey, we'll take it. That's good.
Yeah, info. Right? I had to ask about it. So, but this is basically a clash of two styles here. Gina is the better wrestler of the two, and I expect her to probably chain takedowns here and try to lock in a submission. But if the fight stays on the feet, Priscilla could probably get a KO. Mazzani's striking defense not very good. She's got beaten up on the feet in her last couple fights, and Priscilla always moves forward and throws. But past her stand-up game, her game's really in question. I think Mazzani will be able to get this fight to the ground, probably end up with a submission, but this is a low-level women's fight, and I have no interest in this fight.
Yeah, Mazzani, I mean, she doesn't have many submission attempts on her record, really. So you think she's working on her BJJ? You think that's her plan here?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. Title, your thoughts here?
Yeah, so I think that I like this. I'm going to be overweight on this fight in DFS. I think people are going to mainly stay away from it. It's plus 170 to go the distance. It's Gina Mazzani. Like, it's a low-level girls fight, like Joey said. But sometimes those are the best fights in DFS, because if one of them are in a problem at any time or hurt, they just either fold or, like, it's easier. I don't know. Like, you never know where the fight goes. It feels like you get a weird finish more likely. So plus 170, Gina Mazzani. She's a cash play. I think she does use her wrestling in this one. If she does, a lot of top control, very similar to Giagos earlier, same price range too. I wasn't as high on a submission win. I thought decision was more likely, but I thought a finish was there. I like what Joey said though, that it's definitely in the realm of possibilities. Because if she's on the ground for 12 minutes, I think she could get like a late third round finish. They're just giving up at that point. And then as far as Cachoeira, if she keeps us on the feet, she literally just walks forward, takes all the punishment, and throws bombs. And if those bombs land on Mazzani, she's going down. She is 6,900. No one's going to play her because salary doesn't matter on this slate. She's the biggest dog, even though if you look at it, the biggest dog, it's only a minus 225 favorite. Like, that's a normal dog on that's a 7,400 dog on a normal card. You know what I mean? Yes. So I'm going to be overweight. I don't think it's going to be very hard to get overweight, even 25%. And then I'll be a little overweight on Mazzani. It's a fight I'm definitely going to have interest in.
Yeah, I'm with you. And, Joey, just kind of getting that, if you want to call it inside info from the camp. Like, there's certainly some bias there. And I don't necessarily trust him to, like, be able to, like, break down this fight, how it's going to go or anything like that. But him being so confident, it does tell you that Gina is healthy, right? She's ready to go. She had a good camp. Like, that's kind of what I take from that. And that means something. Those fighters don't always come in at 100% health, right? They didn't always have a perfect camp. Is it fair to say, like, that's kind of what you can take from that Gina will be ready to go for this one?
Absolutely. Yeah, I was just trying to get anything I could out of him. And I'll take it. He said, they were very impressed with her all training camp.
Yep.
And she's in really great shape. So, that's enough for me.
Yep.
And James Krause, I mean, that's a huge bump. We always talk about it. Anytime you see James Krause in your corner, it's an automatic bump to the fighters. So I think Gina is more than likely going to get the win. It's just for the ownership wise in DFS to catch away. She has the path to the optimal that she's going to be underweight for that. I mean, you play for first, you play for last, get a little both sides. It should be a fun fight, underowned. I mean, fun fight for DFS. I don't know how high level to watch, but
and especially if Gina really isn't in the shape that we, she thinks she might be, and she's ripped, she could maybe get a lot of top control here. I think, Joe, you think she can get the submission, but it also could be a lot of ground and pound. Like, if she's feeling good and can get the wrestling takedowns, we've seen those fights score pretty well from a DFS perspective. So I'm with you, Title. I think this is a good one to get exposure to. Joey, final thoughts here?
Yeah, especially we've seen recently a lot of people out of Glory MMA are getting finishes too, going for that finish.
Yeah.
So, I mean, take it with a grain of salt. Obviously, this is a female fight, and it's harder to get a finish, but, it should be a good one.
I like rolling with camps that are performing well. I think there is something to be said for the momentum of just a training group, training camp in general. So yeah, I'll be betting Gina on this one, just given that little bit of information. And then DFS, I think you can play both sides of it, but I do prefer the Gina side myself. Although, Title, I do understand the game theory aspect where Cachoeira does have a path to victory, and she'll be very low owned, so that does make sense to me as well. Next fight, another women's fight, another one that's basically a toss-up here between Andrea Lee and Antonina Shevchenko. I've been, I guess, not super impressed by either of these fighters, to be honest. Not a lot of power, in my opinion, especially from Andrea Lee. Joey, your thoughts here between these two?
Yeah, so Lee comes forward, throws a good amount of volume, but as you mentioned, she doesn't have much power. She definitely has the advantage if this fight gets to the mat. She does attempt about 4 takedowns per 15 minutes. And after she saw Shevchenko basically get destroyed on the ground versus another fighter on this card, and blonde fighter, you would think she would try to get the fight there. As for Shevchenko, if the fight stays standing or turns into a kickboxing match, I think she probably outpoints Andrea on the feet.
I think so too.
If she could get it in the clinch, she has an advantage there as well. But if you look at the odds from Andrea's last 3 fights, she was favored by more than -250 in all 3 of them, and she lost all of them. So obviously now we're evenly matched here on the odds as well. So, I mean, I have a slight lean towards Andrea Lee, but this fight's going to the judges' scorecards, and I really don't want any part of it.
Yeah, I think this one is very, very likely to go to a decision. They both throw a decent amount of volume, especially Lee, like you mentioned, does land a lot of strikes. So I guess maybe she could score decently well, Title, from a DFS perspective in that way. But, man, I don't see Lee, knocking out Shevchenko or even vice versa, to be honest. So I don't love this one. I don't think either fighter is going to get a ton of top control or anything like that. I see kind of a low-scoring fight here. What do you see, Title?
That's how I see it. And Lee's going to be one of the more popular dogs, too. If you look at her price tag, she's plus 105. She's 7K on DK, where Shevchenko's 9.2K. I mean, DK had to change their algorithm this week with the odds being so close, and they had to make some fights like that. But if Lee's going to be one of the more popular dogs, even if she wins, I mean, like we mentioned so many dogs already that have a ceiling, we think. Like Cachoeira, I'd rather play Cachoeira than a chalkier Lee in tournaments for the upside. Yeah, the floor is lower, but you play tournaments for first or last. It's a fight I don't want much of. As far as Shevchenko, 9,200. Like, give me Mazzani or Giagos if I'm going up in that range, or I'll leave the salary. It's a fight I'm not going to have much exposure to. Maybe Lee and Cash or something at 7K, but not a fight in DFS. You got to get underweight and fade some fights. This is going to be one of them.
I'm with you. Yeah, I'll be fading this one as well. Don't see it being super exciting. And I think from a DFS perspective, even the winner, unlikely, in my opinion, to end up in that optimal lineup, which is obviously what we're mostly going for when we're talking MMA DFS on this show. Next fight should be a little bit more exciting, I think. We've got Jamie Pickett, Jordan Wright on the card. This one is like a true straight pick 'em. Most books have it like -110, -110, -105, -105, depending on how much they're juicing, stuff like that. So should be interesting. I don't have a strong lean here. Jordan Wright coming off kind of a brutal knockout loss to Buckley. Pickett has lost 3 of the last 4 himself. So we'll see. I think these two are probably going to stand up and throw. Both throw decent volume, but both get hit quite a lot too. Not a lot of striking defense here. So this could see one of these fighters dropping, right? Middleweight bout, bigger guys. So yeah, I think this one will be somewhat entertaining, if not the highest level of striking that we see. Joey, your thoughts here?
Yeah, I agree. Neither of these guys have fought really good competition, and neither has really impressed me. Jordan Wright was getting pieced up his last fight in the first round. I'm surprised, like, his corner couldn't even throw in the towel before he went out to the second round and got KO'd. But he's never seen a third round in his pro career. He has 11 pro wins, and all are in the first round except for one of them. He doesn't throw a lot of volume, but he does have some power, is the better grappler of the two. But then when he gets into the exchanges, his striking defense is not very good. He just tries to put his chin up. I'm like,
he seems just kind of like a clown to me, like not the highest fight IQ. Like
absolutely. Yeah. And Pickett's a guy who always moves forward. He throws a lot of volume. He definitely has some power himself, and he is pretty durable. He showed he can take some damage in his last couple fights. I think this fight stays standing. Someone's going to get knocked out. I'm just not sure who. The longer the fight goes, I think the better it is for Pickett. But ultimately, these guys, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if both these guys are cut in a couple years.
Yeah, or quicker than that even. Yeah. Honestly, I don't think these guys are super great. I lean Pickett here, but I mean, it's not a strong take. Tyler, you have a stronger take on this one than Joey or me?
Well, I did have a really strong take all week. I was like, Pickett, like Jordan Wright's a bum. I was like, how is this a pick 'em live?
He's got like the ninja stance during his those ways. It's like, come on, get out of here.
Like even at face-offs and stuff, he's doing weird stuff.
Yeah,
like Joey said, he keeps his chin up just to like get popped when he's moving backwards. It's like what is going on? But the more I think about it, I'm like, this line just feels like a trap. I'm like, who would want to put money on Jordan Wright after what we've seen recently? At least Pickett went 15 minutes. He took some damage. He was firing back. Like, he had some game left in him. The line just screams like a trap. In the back of my head, this is literally like the last show with Anthony Smith, Jimmy Crute, where I was Crute all week. And the more we got to it, I was like, something in the back of my head's telling me Anthony Smith. Obviously, we didn't expect the fight to go like that, but that's something in this fight's telling me that. And why that's fine with me in this fight is because, like you guys said, someone's going to sleep. We think it's the second best fight to target outside the main event. I'm just going to go 100% this fight in 20 entry max and down, 60-40, 55-45. I'll probably get a little more Pickett, but I don't want my night to depend on which guy wins this fight. So I'm going to have a lot of both. Hope for a finish, take the under in betting. And if this fight goes to decision, I'm screwed. If Wright or Pickett gets a KO, I'm good with that. 8,100 on DK, both of them. 14 on FanDuel. It's a really hard fight to ignore unless you guys think these guys literally stare at each other and do nothing. But I don't see that happening.
I mean, these guys are. I feel pretty confident that both these guys are going to land clean shots at some
me too.
During this fight. And they're bigger guys, right? Like, maybe they don't have the most power in the world, but both these guys, I mean, they're both 6'2". They're fighting at 185, but both could be light heavyweights. Like, and we know they're going to land, or at least we think we know. So it's hard to avoid this fight, I think, title for DFS, because I do think one of these guys is probably getting at least TKO'd here, if not a clean knockout. So I'm with you, Joey. Yeah. Any last thoughts here?
Yeah, I mean, it should be definitely an entertaining fight, at least.
Yeah, that's hey.
Someone goes to sleep, hopefully, which we like to see in MMA.
Absolutely. So we're expecting some fireworks between Pickett and Wright. Maybe not the highest level of striking, but that's all right. It should be a decent brawl, we think, between these two. Next fight on the card, we've got Lando Venata and Mike Grundy. Another fight that's pretty much just a straight up pick 'em. So you can go either way on this one. Joey, your thoughts on these two?
Yeah, so this will be my first official play. Grundy has, strong wrestling, very good grappling. Mm-hmm. I think he has a little power as well. But I think his plan will be probably to get this fight to the ground, and he should have success when he gets the fight to the ground. He was an Olympic wrestler. Vannata, he has some quality. He hasn't had a quality win in some time. I mean, he beat Yancy Medeiros, but he lost to Cowboy Cerrone, and we've seen what he's been through recently. Vannata, he doesn't throw a lot of output. He is unique with his striking, but he's been outstroked on his feet the last couple fights, and he's shown he's very susceptible to takedowns. So I do think Grundy gets him to the ground in the first round, probably the second round too, and he'll grind out a win there. Either wins via decision, possibly gets a sub, but the only question mark really is Grundy's gas tank. He has shown to really slow down in the third round, but if he wins the first two, I think he'll do enough to win the judges' scorecards and win 2 of 3 rounds. But official play for mine is Mike Grundy -115 via BetMGM.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think Grundy does grind this decision out. What's his what's he to win by decision? It can't be that much higher than the -115, but
I got it right here.
Yeah. How is his top control, Grundy?
+175.
Okay. Yeah, I think that's kind of good too, because I do think Grundy, gets the takedowns here. Like you said, very good wrestler. Vannata, I don't think will stop those takedowns, or at least most of them. So that's the way I lean. I don't see this fight being super exciting. I think, the old lay and pray, I think, is kind of how this one's going to go down. Title, how do you see Grundy and Vannata?
I think there's going to be a little more action than you think in this one.
Okay.
I also bet Grundy earlier in the week, so I'm on Joey's side. I think, but like you said, Vannata doesn't have the best takedown defense. I think Grundy gets them pretty easily. He has good top control, and I think he's going to be pretty aggressive in this fight, that he's going to try and finish it. As far as Vannata, yeah, if he can stuff him, he's a better play on FanDuel where you do get takedown defenses. He's also a little cheaper over there. So I do prefer him, and I'll get more of my exposure on FanDuel, but I just don't think he can stuff them, the relentless takedowns. And even if he could, let's say, Grundy's striking isn't bad. If these guys somehow had a striking match, I think it'd be very interesting. Vannata is very unique, like Joey said, throws unorthodox stuff, but Grundy, he has power in his hands too. I think Grundy could get the finish. I think he has upside at 8,200. And with him being a wrestler in the takedowns and top control, you have a nice floor built in a win. So I'll be overweight on Grundy at 8,200. I'll be underweight on Vannata on DraftKings, and I'll get more of my exposure on FanDuel with takedown defenses.
Yeah, I'm on Grundy here. I think, like you said, I think he could get a lot of top control. I think he'll land strikes when he's got that top control. When he's if he's on top in this fight against Vannata. And these smaller wrestlers, right? This is a fight at 145. It's hard to stop them because they can just keep coming at you, right? These guys don't have as much power as a middleweight or a light heavyweight. You can kind of walk through some strikes. You don't have to be as scared as catching an uppercut or a knee coming in, because the other guy doesn't have as much power. So Grundy, just kind of that relentless grinding style, I think it gets the job done. Sounds like we're all kind of on the same page on Grundy here. So Joey, any final thoughts between these two?
Yeah, I mean, Vannata got taken down by Mark DeCasey basically at will. And Mike Grundy is an Olympic wrestler. So what's saying he's not going to do better than Mark DeCasey here?
Yeah.
There's value on this line. I agree. Hit it earlier in the week. I'm glad you bet it too, I think.
It's another one that does. It feels like Grundy should be a decent sized favorite. So, not sure what's up with that, but still going to hit the Grundy line for sure. Next fight on the card, Kevin Holland, all 3 top level guys in the 185 division. I guess to me, this fight kind of comes down to, do you think Jacare is kind of done or not, right? He's an older fighter, 11 years, the junior here. Joey, what are your thoughts here? Because this is another fight that pretty close on the odds. Jacare coming in just around -125 to -130, depending on where you look.
Yeah, so neither guy is a really high output striker. Jacare is now 41 years old. He lost 3 in a row, but I mean, his last fight was to Kevin Holland, right? He got put out via KO. He was never really able to exploit Holland's game and get the fight to the ground.
That was the up kick, right?
It was like the backhand fist on the ground when he was on his back. It was
a crazy knockout. Yeah,
the weirdest exchange.
Yeah,
yeah. So, I mean, before that, he went to a split decision with the champ Jan Blachowicz, and then he lost the decision to Jack Hermanson. Past that, he hasn't been finished since 2017 versus Robert Whitaker. So, these names I'm shooting out are very high level mixed martial artists. He's great at jiu-jitsu, definitely the better of the two at wrestling, and he still has heavy hands. If he connects, he could put somebody to sleep. So Munoz, his best asset is a submission freak. but he's not going to sub a high-level guy, high-level grappler in Jacare Souza. So that really limits his winning in this fight, I think. So really, I mean, to win this fight, he needs to knock out Jacare, but he doesn't throw much volume. I really don't see him connecting on that one punch to knock him out. So I never thought I'd say this again, but I'm taking a 41-year-old Jacare Souza.
That's kind of where I'm at too. That crazy knockout from Holland, it does have me a little bit concerned about Jacare's chin, right? Like getting knocked out when the other guy's basically he's on his back, wasn't he? I think. Yeah. Kevin Holland.
Well, he got pieced up on the feet before that, you know, and Kevin Holland is a very skilled boxer, you know, that's.
Jacare's going to land takedowns here, right? I think he can control this fight for sure. Like, Munoz doesn't have very good takedown defense, and I don't know. I see Jacare maybe being better in all aspects of MMA, to be honest. So I'm on him. You know, he's a moderate favorite, but nothing huge, and I think he could maybe even finish this fight via submission. So, Title, your thoughts here on Jacare and Munoz?
Yeah, another one where I completely agree with Joey. And yeah, like, did I want to bet Jacare again at this point of his career? No. But the UFC is giving him a softball, and if he can't beat Munoz, he's completely done.
I think he wins this one pretty easily, to be honest.
Yep. I mean, he's the better striker. He's one of the best grapplers this sport's ever seen. Is Munoz going to sub him? I would be completely shocked. And then it's time for him to hang him up. Jacare he has the advantage in every area of this fight. I could definitely see him getting a finish too. It's supposed to end inside the distance slightly. I bet Jacare. I'm going to be overweight in Jacare and DFS. I think it's a very good spot for him. I know we've got burned by these old guys. Like last week, Cowboy I got burned by. We'll have another fight.
I do see, you know, the end can come quickly, right? For UFC fighters, you can go from kind of an elite level to you can't win anymore. I think we're seeing it with Cowboy Cerrone. I think he's just kind of done. You know, legends like BJ Penn and Anderson Silva, like they stick around too long and they're getting beat by everybody. I don't think Jacare is at that. I think he's, if you want to call it a young 41, I think that's fair. I don't think he's washed up quite yet. So yeah, we all expect him to take this fight, and I think he's a good bet. I like him in DFS, like you guys said. So yeah, 3 for 3 on Jacare for us.